Toughest defender for you?
Tony Allen. That's easy.
Tony Allen.
Ooh, that's a great question. I'd probably say Tony Allen.
Tony Allen was a nobody, a 6'4" guard airballing open layups, but he was a monster. In fact, he was so confident in his defense that he said in 2015, "I'm First Team T.A. No, not First Team All-NBA, First Team All-TA. He named the defensive team after his own initial. A little crazy, but okay. But while the players rave about Tony Allen, the NBA and fans seem to have forgotten about one of the best perimeter defenders of all time. That probably gave your favorite player trouble. Allen was doing a lot more to these players and frustrating way more than just these 3 NBA legends. And I'm gonna go through the 3 key pieces on how Tony Allen was stopping some of the best perimeter offensive players ever, because bro was a psycho. What is up, dudes to that Ballers Players? It's your boy MJ. Kobe multiple times said that Tony Allen was by far his toughest defender, and for a guy who rarely gave props to any defender, this meant so much more. Kobe even said that he's never heard Tony ask for help. Moments like this never show up in the stats, but were oh so important. And that's piece number 1. Tony Allen was one of the NBA's most feared on-ball defenders because his mindset was scary. He talked the talk on the court, like literally. He wanted to be recognized as one of the greatest defenders ever. In 2015, he said, "When they talk about the Bruce Bowens, Dennis Rodmans, and Michael Coopers, I want them to remember my name too. I'm not just playing this game to be average, I want to be elite." He wanted to study his matchup to the core, the way they ISO, their handle, their tendencies. Heck, he tried to ask for footage that wasn't even on the court. You see why Kobe liked him? And to quote Allen, "I would break that down, I study and eat that all up." Offense was an afterthought. He wanted to make lives miserable, a true masochist.
Here's Johnny.
But the crazy part to all this is, Tony Allen didn't even come up as a defensive project. In fact, in college and his earliest days in the NBA, he showcased much more of an offensive ability than his talents on the other end. At Oklahoma in his senior year, he averaged 17 and won the Big 12 Player of the Year award. In his early NBA days with the Celtics, Allen averaged his highest points output in his 3rd season than in any other season of his career at 11.5. He wasn't exactly long, didn't have huge hands like Kawhi or crazy instincts like Dennis Rodman, so no one picked up on the fact that he could turn into a legendary defender. But what gave Tony Allen the edge was his lateral movement and lightning quickness that scouts picked up on when he entered the NBA. So to be more on the court and get his minutes, he had to take pride in his defense. And it started headlined by his iconic matchups against the great Kobe Bryant in both the 2008 and 2010 NBA Finals. The energy and urgency he had to stop the game's best player was second to none. He was determined to not let Kobe even touch the ball, and he had a few secrets that I'll let him explain later on in the video. But it was mainly during the 2010 NBA playoffs when Tony Allen emerged as a seriously great defender. That was the postseason run that saw Allen take on the 2 best players in the world in Kobe and LeBron, and we're about to see how he gave Kobe the most trouble he's ever faced, and probably why Kobe years down the line gave Allen his ultimate props. Kobe said the player closest to a Kobe stopper was Tony Allen. What? Especially when you hold the game's most lethal offensive player to only 5 of 19 shooting as the primary defender through the first 4 games of the NBA Finals. Yeah, you're a bad man. In fact, in a pivotal Game 4 with the Lakers hoping to grab a 3-1 series lead, Boston's defensive plan in the first half was to throw multiple bodies at Kobe, but he shot over 60% as the Lakers went into the half with a small lead. But in the second half, Celtics coach Doc Rivers, before the 3-1 meltdowns, decided to make Tony Allen the full-time defender on Kobe. In 2008, Allen only averaged 4.3 minutes in the playoffs, so the 2010 playoffs was where he was starting to get some real shine. Before he even made all-defensive team the accolades, he had that tenacity and aggression you can't teach. So he bothered Kobe a ton. In the second half, Kobe just shot 5 of 14, which proved to be huge because the Celtics came out with the win to tie the series. And all Kobe could say was, he does a great job. He plays hard, he's a good solid defender, I'm enjoying it. And it wasn't just luck either. Tony later revealed in an interview his specific plan to make Kobe as uncomfortable as possible.
I knew for a fact when he go right, he could do a lot. He could reverse dunk, he could pull up, he could fade away. He could do a lot going right. So my whole thing was, let me just try to be physical. I said, I'm gonna just make him go left. And whatever he do going left, he gonna have to do that all night.
And this wouldn't be his only plan that worked, which we'll see in a bit. Tony Allen's matchups against Kobe put him under the spotlight, and once he would get that bigger role, it would all change.
Freaking way.
And that's piece number 2. Allen put the clamps on the NBA's top offensive talents. In July of 2010, Tony signed with the Memphis Grizzlies in free agency, and in his first season, he finally got some recognition for his defense, being voted to the all-defensive second team. But if you really look harder at the season he had a strong case for not just being on the first team, but for being a candidate in Defensive Player of the Year. Not only did he lead a 19th ranked defensive team from a season ago to 9th ranked, he finished 4th in DPOY voting and led the NBA in steals per 48 minutes despite playing just under 21 minutes per game. Man was playing less than half the game and was still leading a top 10 defense. The Grizzlies were turning into the grit and grind, and in the 2011 playoffs, they would go up against the dynasty in the San Antonio Spurs. But to everyone's surprise, the Grizzlies stormed by San Antonio in a 6-game series with Tony Allen leading all players in steals and defensive rating. For a team projected to just win 38 games, the Grizzlies were going far. And now we're going to face a young and exciting OKC Thunder team, which would go to 7 games. 22-year-old Kevin Durant was coming off winning another scoring title during the regular season. Tony Allen took the assignment, and man, was it a dupe. And look, better offense can beat better defense, especially when it's a 6'11 demigod guarded by a 6'4 guard. But Allen didn't make it easy. In a closeout Game 6, he held KD to just 11 points. KD had just 8 points and 7 shot attempts through the first 32 minutes of play. Again, in a game where he could have helped the Thunder secure their spot in the Western Conference Finals. But it wasn't just Game 6. He held KD to just 8 of 18 shooting in Game 2, 10 of 24 in Game 3, and only 19 points in Game 5. But the Thunder would come out to win the 7-game series. And this rivalry would not end because in 2013, they played again in the playoffs. Allen was doing his thing. KD only shot 15 of 48 from the floor over the last 2 games of the series and had 11 turnovers. This was an OKC team without Westbrook, and the Grizzlies would win in 5 games. Tony Allen had Kevin Durant's entire legacy in doubt.
Kevin Durant has got to show up tonight.
What is happening to Kevin Durant? Tony Allen is partially happening to Kevin Durant.
I missed this first take. This was peak. And if you like the truth, covering all topics, not just the mainstream ones, subscribe for more. And even then, it wasn't over because they would play another time when KD would be even better. Allen had a plan for each player, why he kept going first team all defense in 2012 and 2013, and got better in the postseason. In 2014, he met James Harden in November and put the clamps on him, holding him to just 6 points on 1 of 8 shooting. And then said after a game, I haven't really figured him out yet because he's so crafty, but I did hold him under his average. Damn. Yeah, man wasn't afraid of the smoke. Forget the side of James Harden defending, Allen was proving to be frustrating and keeping his hands to himself. But not playing in enough games that season resulted in him being left off the defensive team for the first time in several years. And he wasn't happy about that, saying, by me missing all those games, I thought the writers kind of have overlooked me. So he was out to prove something in the postseason. KD was the MVP, won another scoring title, did things offensively we hadn't seen since Michael Jordan. He was entering his prime. But Tony Allen did not care.
We don't care.
How many 6'4" guys in the history of the NBA would be routinely willing to go toe-to-toe with the world's best shot maker and have it work out? Patrick Beverley got cooked. In the 2014 postseason, the Grizzlies and OKC Thunder met once again. And during the series, KD was held to just 36% shooting when guarded by Tony Allen. See how he even denies the entry pass from getting to KD? How he's all up in him, exerting pressure on him without fouling, stealing. The instincts were second to none. It's why even Durant couldn't help but admit the ugly truth. Tony Allen was in his head because, man, Allen was talking. No, seriously, Durant admitted, I'm worrying about a guy coming from behind trying to block the shot. He knew he had to be better. The Thunder would win in 7 games, but the Grizzlies again had pushed a super team to their limit. Years down the line, when KD was asked about his battles with Allen, KD said what we all knew was true.
Who has been the toughest defender? Who has done the best job of shutting you down one-on-one?
Shutting me down, I don't know about that, but just making it tough on me. Tony Allen by far is the greatest defender I've ever played against.
To say by far the greatest tells you all you need to know about Tony Allen's defense and his intensity. This guy had everyone hearing footsteps. But a true test of Allen's versatility came on the perimeter when the NBA allowed for more freedom of movement, less hands, and saw the greatest shooter in NBA history in his prime. In 2015, the Golden State Warriors were the NBA's latest Cinderella story. High energy, quick fire offense featuring the 2 greatest shooters in tandem the NBA had ever seen. They won 67 games that season, but they had to go head to head with the Memphis Grizzlies, a team who the Warriors respected, unlike the current Grizzlies who they hate.
Bruh, look at this dude.
It was the 3rd ranked defense versus the 2nd ranked offense. Steph may have been MVP, but Allen didn't care, saying, ain't nothing I ain't never seen before. And man was so locked in, he was walking through a halftime show.
That was legitness.
This is some of the best defensive skill I've seen. Jumping on the pump fake, but putting a hand in his face while flying by while Curry was shooting without fouling, and Curry missed it? Wow.
First team all defense.
Steph through the first 3 games averaged just 21 points on 39% shooting. Klay, on the other hand, averaged only 17 with 12 combined turnovers. A Warriors assistant coach said years after, what I remember about that series is that we were in trouble. Tony was on the perimeter causing a lot of havoc, and the Splash Brothers shot 3 of 17 from 3 in game 2. And it didn't come from dirty defense trying to injure someone. No, Allen was primarily guarding Klay Thompson and still denying Steph Curry. Throughout the series, the Warriors players when guarded by Tony Allen were 0 of 7. He had Steph's number and Klay was 0 of 5. At this point, the Warriors didn't have an answer for this style of defense. They need to somehow mitigate Tony Allen. So guess what they did? Instead of worrying about his defense, which they knew they could do nothing about, the Warriors flipped the script. Because he wasn't much of a shooter, the Warriors put Andrew Bogut on him and basically implemented a strategy where they'd only worry about 4 guys on offense, not 5. And it worked because offensively, Allen was ass. And because this strategy worked so well, Allen couldn't stay on the court a ton, only playing a combined 21 minutes for the remainder of the series. And that ended up changing NBA defensive strategy forever by putting big men on non-shooters. And oh yeah, the reason why it worked is because it opened up everything for Steph and Klay, who the Grizzlies had no answer for without Tony Allen. The Warriors gambled and it paid off. They won the series, but need a whole strategy just to get rid of Tony Allen. At this point, there was no denying this man's greatness on defense, even at 35 years old. And that's piece number 3. Tony Allen stands amongst the very best defenders in NBA history, even if he doesn't really get mentioned in NBA discourse. Us NBA fans need to look at the footage, look at what players are saying, look at the impact, not just stats. We hear Gary Payton, Scottie Pippen, Kawhi. We're hearing a bit of Marcus Smart, but when the best offensive players of our generation are sitting here and telling us that Tony Allen was the best defender on them, he should be mentioned more. In fact, in 2016, the GMs voted him the second best perimeter defender in the NBA, only behind a 24-year-old Kawhi Leonard, and Allen was 35 years old. Wild. As the Grizzlies' all-time leader in steals, he also made an impressive run at Defensive Player of the Year in 2013, and the fact that he was even in the conversation as a guard says a lot. Although his defense was on par with the greatest perimeter defenders ever, because he wasn't an offensive weapon, he's sort of lost in history. His stats don't really show a whole lot, because his stats don't show a whole lot, especially offensively. Basketball nowadays overlooks the impact he had. I just want him to get his props. Not only did he make 6 all-defensive teams, he completely transformed and revamped an entire franchise to dedicate itself to a defensive-first mentality. They called him the grind father for a reason. Memphis is the grind house for a reason. Tony Allen set that culture and should be recognized more. Heck, if Kobe said it, we need to be saying it more. The only notification shout goes to my boy, Day One and OG, Armand, who's out in Japan. Wow, thanks for the holiday support. And if you want to know about the only problem with the NBA in-season tournament, because it's a big one, there's a video right here. And if you're still here, you're a real one, so comment First Team so I know. It's your boy MJ. We out and we vibe.